Okay, everyone, so right now this is the completion of chapter number 6, starting from wavefronts. So there are two types in which we can represent a wave. We either represent a wave using a wavefront or using array. So wavefronts are just the circles representing the location of a wave peak. احنا ما أخذنا peaks and valleys, so a wavefront just tell me where a wave's peak is. So location. Array is an arrow representing the direction that a wave segment is traveling. So الاتجاه اللي الاري يوريني اتجاه، اما الويف فرونت يوريني location حقت الويف peak. Okay, so those are like just wave fronts and those are lights of rays. بعدين we go to propagation of reflection. تمام. Reflection is when a wave immediately changes direction. So this word means immediately changes direction. This is the normal ray reflection. هذا ray reflection. تمام. لكن لما نقول wave reflection يعني rays change the direction because they hit a barrier وراحوا كذا الجهة الثانية. This just can be بس تصور في عقلكم the actual wave reflection. So wave is reflected when it reaches a boundary of its medium or encountered changes in the properties of the medium. يعني for example كنت أروح في the wave was going through air but then suddenly it started to go through liquid. طيب there's going to be some kind of reflection in the wave. تمام. يعني ما حيمشي بنفس manner اللي it's used to in the first medium. or كمان لما مثلا for example I'm hitting a wave and just hits the brick. تمام. but then when it goes back it's gonna go back in the opposite direction like it's here represented in the picture. So just like reflection, just like know the definition وحتعرفوا كيف تحلوا. بعدها we have اللي هو عنا other types of reflection في الميرور. طيب the only mirror we're taking هنا is a flat mirror. We're not taking concave mirror ولا the convex mirrors. So first of all, from a flat mirror, a reflection becomes behind the mirror. And this point where all of the rays يتجمعوا طيب like the كيف أقول لها بالعربي يعني الري بعد ما it's reflected في زي اللاين المخفي اللي يروح ورا الميرور. هذا اللاين المخفي اللي يروح ورا الميرور concentrates behind the mirror to form إيش؟ to form الimage. يعني when you see yourself in the mirror, yourself is the image that is formed behind the mirror due to بقية الريز المخفية بعد ما the ray reflected. I hope إنكم فهمتوا بس just memorize this shape and you're gonna know. So the point behind the mirror from which the reflection appears to originate is called the image. تمام. So echo and image are examples of how something is reflected. تمام. يعني image is for when you're reflecting like light reflection. Echo is like sound reflection. So the reflection of the sound that encounters a large flat surface. When you're dealing with like مسائل فيها echo, don't forget to divide by 2. تمام. If you don't divide by 2 because the echo goes and comes back. So يعني it's a round. تمام. So when an echo goes and comes back, you need to divide by 2. If you don't divide by 2, your whole حلكم كله غلط. Okay. After that, we have echolocation. إحنا مو قلنا the reflection of sound. طب I can use something called echolocation, and this echolocation I can use to detect the location of something by using the echoes. يعني كيف؟ يعني استعمل الصوت reflection حق الصوت عشان أشوف وين الشيء مكان الشيء. So it's the process of using the waves reflected from an object to determine its location. Radar and sonar are two examples of what echolocation. هذا سؤال أكيد حيجي. بعدها echolocation uses reflection only. تمام. بس reflection ما نستعمل أي other properties, only reflection عشان إيه؟ to find the location. So a wave is emitted and this wave يوصل للobject, so therefore it's reflected from the object. So we هنا do a calculation to detect its return from the original point. يعني في نقطة البداية when we calculate the time it took to return to نقطة البداية after it reflected. هذه هي properties of echolocation. This is what we use in echolocation. And the time between the emission of the wave, the time between راحة الويف الأولى and the detection of reflected wave رجعت الويف الثانية tells us اللي هو عنا the location. Okay, after that the echolocation depends على the speed of the wave and the distance of the reflecting object. يعني the speed بسرعة الويف اللي راحت، وكمان ال distance حق reflecting object وين الأوبجكت موجودة فيه، وال distance اللي بينه وبين like reflecting object. بعدها if هنا في عندنا curved surface the reflections بيكون focused قدام ال curved surface. تمام؟ زي satellites، زي radar receivers. تمام؟ So the reflected part of the wave are the converging towards each other. يعني في النص قدامه. يعني لما يكون قدامه the amplitude of the wave is increasing، يعني هنا مرة تركيز عالي، يعني high intensity. تمام؟ تمام. بعدها عندنا diffraction. Diffraction results whenever a wave has to travel past a barrier. يعني whenever a wave لازم تمشي بين اللي هو عندنا barrier. تمام؟ هذا barrier لازم تمشي بينهم. So and the waves اللي هو عندنا depend على the amount of diffraction اللي يصير. يعني the amount of diffraction هذا اللي يصير يعتمد على ال wavelength ويعتمد على السايز. تمام؟ السايز of the obstruction اللي بينهم اللي between them. So when the opening is much larger than the wavelength مرة في little diffraction. تمام؟ But the amount of diffraction will increase when the wavelength becomes similar to the size of the opening. تمام؟ يعني شوفوا هنا عندنا diffraction مرة كثير because the wavelength is similar to the size of the opening. تمام؟ After that we have اللي هو عنا interference. إيش يعني interference؟ يعني لما اثنين شيء مع بعض يصيرون كذا they interfere with each other يتعارضون مع بعض. So when two or more waves overlap لما يكون عندي interference يا يكون هذا constructive interference يعني يدينا شيء أكبر يبني، أو يكون destructive interference يعني هدام. تمام؟ So constructive interference يديني larger amplitude. طيب عشان زايد يديني شيء مرة كبير. أما destructive interference ينقص لي الامبليتيود وممكن كمان يخليه زيرو أحيانا. تمام؟ تمام. يعني شوفوا هنا مع بعض they're gonna add each other and they're gonna like interfere together. تمام؟ two waves along the line they're gonna like constructively interfere, they're gonna add each other. بس شوفوا هنا تمام هذا حيروح مع ده. تمام؟ they're gonna destructively interfere. تمام؟ وهنا كمان they're gonna constructively interfere، قاعدين يزيدوا مع بعض. تمام؟ so those are the difference. تمام؟ زي ما تشوفوا هنا interference and like that. طيب بعدها بنروح عندنا الدوبلر إفكت. الدوبلر إفكت يقول the apparent change in a wavelength اللي هو عنا due to the relative اللي هو motion between the source and the receiver. تمام؟ إيش هو يعني؟ يعني في الويفلنث حقت الويف بتشينج because عندنا motion between a source اللي يطلع هذا الصوت والريسيفر اللي يستلم هذا الصوت. تمام؟ تمام. يعني هنا الصوت بيكون مرة عالي compared to هنا لما الصوت يكون واطي. تمام؟ تمام. So a source is emitting waves moving to the right. The crest appear close together in the direction in which the source moves. تمام؟ يعني هنا الكريست كلها مع بعض in direction هو قاعد يموف في right. تمام؟ And the crest appear farther apart in the opposite direction to the source motion. So these changes cause the frequency to sound different since the wave travels at the same speed relative to the medium. يعني هنا sound different، هنا الصوت بيكون واطي، هنا الصوت بيكون عالي. بعدين هنا كان يقول لك إنه أقدر استعمل speed to multiply by the wavelength times the frequency. بعدين عندنا شيء اسمه shock wave. هذا shock wave occurs when the speed of the source is greater than the wave speed. تمام؟ when the speed of the source is greater than the wave speed هذا بيكون عندنا اللي هو shock wave. تمام؟ لكن عشان يصير عندي shock wave لازم يكون greater. لكن لما يصير عندي shock wave طيب بعد ما يصير the speeds بيكون equal. تمام؟ فعشان نسوي shock wave لازم يكون greater بس بعدها في shock wave يكونون similar. And the medium cannot respond fast enough to propagate the wave. And the crests initially pile up in front of the source and this build causes a large amplitude. Example على shock wave sonic boom اللي هو عنا fast boat when it creates a bow wave. تمام؟ فعشان يكون هنا shock wave the speed of the source must be greater than the wave speed بس بعد ما يصير both of them are equal. تمام؟ تمام. هذا بيكون عندنا second part. A third part بيكون sound wave and it's gonna be another video عشان ما تتراكم عليكم ideas.